The movie begins with a book getting opened by the howling winds. We hear a narration about the significance of a forest. The narrator explains to us that the forest represents different things. It is a place of play, but it is also a place of fear. Through the moving animations, we see that a group of hunters killed a deer couple that had a fawn. Over time, the same fawn grew up and became evil and vindictive. After that, the scene cuts to a group of hunters in the forest consisting of Tyler, Michael, and Eddie. Tyler shot down a bird and moved on with his other fellows. Now we see Xana and her son Benji prepared to set out for a weekend holiday. Xana talked to her husband Simon and became angry when he refused to join them because he was overloaded with work. So she and Benji set out alone for the weekend trip to her in-laws' house in a van. Rob, the driver, was so busy talking to Xana that he nearly caused an accident. However, Benji wasn't bothered at all and kept playing a video game on his tablet. Sensing that Benji wasn't feeling well, Xana urged Rob to pull over for a while.
Give it a minute.
As they stopped, Benji suddenly heard a growling sound coming from the dark forest, but he brushed it off and got back into the van. Moments later, Rob encountered a massive zombie deer on the road. The creature flipped the van over with its antlers, trapping Rob, Xana, and Benji inside.
Is everybody all right? Is everyone okay?
Before long, the zombie deer named Bambi appeared again, climbing onto the overturned van and stomping violently, trying to crush them inside. Rob screamed in pain as a bone protruded from his leg. Meanwhile, Xana managed to break the glass, pull Benji out, and escape to a safe distance. They watched in horror as the vengeful Bambi stood growling on top of the upside-down van. Nearby, an elderly woman named Mary stood outside her house, muttering the word Bambi over and over again. Harriet, Mary's daughter-in-law, is a bit frustrated as Simon didn't arrive so far at the lodge, and she can't call him as there is no network in the area. Soon she spotted Mary outside the house and rushed to bring her back inside.
Mary! Thought I told you to watch her. Sit there.
She took her inside and scolded her son, Harrison, for not keeping an eye on his grandmother. Mary realized that her other daughter-in-law, Xana, and grandson Benji were close by. Harriet came out and found Xana and Benji standing at the door. Xana told her in-laws everything she and Benji went through in the forest. Josh, her brother-in-law, decided to go into the forest to call for help. In the forest, Tyler, Michael, and Eddie stumbled upon a wrecked vehicle and found Xana's phone inside.
She's pretty tasty.
Soon they heard a terrifying growling sound from the forest and grew alert. Mary was deeply absorbed in drawing a deer, while Harrison grew irritated by the constant scratching sound. He told her to stop, but she ignored him, prompting Harrison to throw a pillow at her. Despite that, Mary continued drawing. Meanwhile, Josh was out in the forest searching for a signal when Tyler mistakenly shot him in the head, thinking he was Bambi, the zombie deer. Michael rushed over to check on Josh, but found him dead. Enraged by the mistake, Michael lashed out at Tyler.
And that crashed, you reckon?
Take him back to the truck.
The group then loaded Josh's body into the truck and drove away. Back at the house, Mary turned off the table lamp and approached the window, peering into the darkness as a sense of dread washed over her. Suddenly, the carcass of a bird was hurled against the window by Bambi, who stood hidden in the shadows. Panic and fear swept through everyone inside. Before long, Bambi broke into the house to hunt the humans. Harriet barely managed to escape through the back door when Bambi nearly plunged its antlers into her back. Xana took Mary and her son out of the house and rushed into the van, while Andrew was already inside. They waited for Harriet, who was missing. But soon Harriet was seen rushing to the van while being chased by Bambi. With her sharp antlers, Bambi sliced Harriet's body from the middle, letting her torso fall to the ground. Andrew and the others witnessed this horrific sight and peeled out to safety. However, Bambi also ran after the van to do what she did to Rob's van. Harrison opened the door and threw some objects at the creature to hurt it, but Bambi remained unharmed and grew even more furious. Bambi overtook the van and struck it from the front, sending it nearly off the road. Andrew kept his nerves and skillfully balanced the van again and drove away, leaving Bambi frustrated. Michael, Tyler, and Eddie cautiously moved to the house and entered it only to find it empty. They came out and found the torso of Harriet lying on the ground with some life still inside it. So to take her out of her misery, Michael gently pierced his knife into Harriet's throat, putting her to sleep once and for all. Andrew found a massive tree in the middle of the road and became frustrated.
A tree in the middle of the road.
He blamed Simon for everything, since Simon had insisted that they all spend the weekend there, yet didn't even show up himself. Putting their differences aside, they stepped out of the van. Andrew and his son, Harrison, tied a rope to the fallen tree and tried to pull it off the road. Inside, Santa urged Benji to drive once they were ready. Meanwhile, Bambi appeared from ahead and charged at them. Startled, Benji sped off in the van, unaware that his uncle Andrew was being dragged behind by the attached rope and Harrison was left behind as well. Benji managed to dodge Bambi, saving his mother and grandmother's lives. In the forest, Harrison spotted Bambi in the distance and immediately rushed deeper into the woods. He hid behind a tree as Bambi wandered nearby. While trying to quietly back away, he accidentally stepped on a broken branch that cracked under his foot, drawing Bambi's attention. As he fled, Harrison tripped and fell into a pile of foul-smelling animal waste that smeared across his face. Seconds later, Bambi walked up to him and moved to crush his head in its snout, but then she heard the bleating of her fawn and became distracted and moved in that direction, letting go off Harrison. The van broke down on the way, and Xana became flummoxed. She stepped out of it and checked on Andrew, but he was already dead, and his face had been completely deformed. Benji and Xana noticed that Mary escaped the van and went into the forest. Harrison kept looking for a signal in the forest, unaware that there lay a bear trap behind him. Suddenly, a little strange rabbit appeared on a fallen tree. It approached Harrison, but the miffed Harrison kicked it, sending it flying. However, the same rabbit with its blood-stained body showed up again and let out a scream, calling its friends. A herd of rabbits surrounded Harrison and forced him to back off, causing him to fall into the bear trap. The mutated rabbits nibbled at Harrison's flesh, eating him alive. Meanwhile, a camera attached to a tree is seen recording this killing. Mary went deeper into the forest, but the dutiful Xana tried to convince her she was still there to look after her.
I'm worried about you.
Meanwhile, Benji lit a flare and showed Xana the torso of a man hanging from a tree. Soon, she heard Bambi's growling coming from a distance, and long after, Bambi showed up, prompting Xana, Benji, and Mary to flee in terror. They all rushed to the main road, where they were helped by Michael and other hunters. Michael assured Xana, stating that he would take them to his house where he would call the police by a satellite phone for help. Moments later, Michael and his men took Xana and her family to their house. Michael heard a noise from inside the house and became alert. He pointed his gun at the house, but it turned out to be Simon, his mate. Benji immediately rushed to his father, while Xana and his mother, Mary, were in shock, as he was supposed to be on his work trip. Xana engaged in a heated argument with Simon over his lame excuse, but contrary to this, Simon lashed out at his wife for arriving there with the family, while Benji overheard them in the other room, realizing that he had no place in his father's heart. So Benji stormed outside and kicked the bucket in despair. Just then, he heard a bleating sound of a fawn. Tyler and Eddie carried a cage inside which trapped a fawn. Xana stormed into a cabin and found Michael and Joe inside. She grabbed a satellite phone from the table, but Michael outsmarted her. Suddenly, Xana saw the laptop screen and found several wildlife animals captured and eliminated. So she asked them what they were doing. Michael replied that they just wanted to lure and trap Bambi there, and Simon already knew it. Xana was furious with Simon at this and said that he endangered their son's life. Soon, she realized that Benji was missing. Benji is seen secretly watching Tyler and Eddie carrying a cage into the forest with a fawn inside. Tyler went to pee, leaving the cage with Eddie. Tyler had just started peeing when he suddenly realized that something was stalking him from a distance. Before he could take any action, he was beheaded by Bambi in a split second. Xana urged Mary to tell her where Benji went, but the unstable Mary kept talking beside the point. So Xana and Simon rushed outside in order to search for their son, but Xana stumbled upon the corpses of Josh and another guy. Eddie became sick of waiting for Tyler and moved to check on him, but found him lying dead across the road with no head. Soon, he saw Bambi in the distance stalking him. Benji approached the cage and took over the adorable fawn. Joe asked Michael to take a look at a camera feed and showed him Benji setting the fawn free. Eddie ran as fast as he could to save himself from Bambi and climbed into his car and shut the door in desperation. However, one of the doors was still wide open. So he nervously reached out for the door and closed it, but the plan didn't work out his way.
Benji! Mom?
Michael ran to the cage, but sadly the fawn had been rescued by then. So he contacted Joe to get Benji's location since he had the fawn. Bambi broke into the house and found Mary before her. Bambi sniffed and moved to crush her head, but just she was distracted by another sound coming from the cabin. So she brought down the door of the cabin only to find its next prey in the form of Joe. With no other choice, Joe shot the gas cylinder, blowing up the entire building. Pointing his gun at Benji and his family, Michael asked Benji to hand over the fawn to him, and Simon prompted him to do it as well.
What he says.
This is you, this is... No!
Meanwhile, Bambi made her presence known, revealing she survived the explosion. Bambi viciously attacked Michael and took him away. Simon and Xana scrambled over the satellite phone, but Simon managed to get it and told Xana that he would not let her ruin his life. Before long, Bambi arrived and stalked Benji after finding him with her baby fawn. Xana urged Simon to help and save their son, but Simon turned out to be a treacherous father when he fled the forest, leaving Benji on his own. The fawn began bleeding, and Xana quickly realized that Bambi wanted her baby. So she quietly approached Benji and picked up the fawn. Shaking in her boots, she handed over the fawn to its mother. Bambi sniffed its baby, but at the same time, Michael, who survived Bambi's attack, fired repeatedly at Bambi, knocking it down. Mary arrived and shot Michael in the head, killing him on the spot. Simon noticed that other captured rabbits were missing from the car. Soon, a rabbit appeared inside the car and attacked Simon before he could escape. The mutated rabbit fed on Simon to his death. The poor fawn continued to bleat, encouraging its mother to get up, but the severely wounded Bambi couldn't survive the fierce attack and died in the end. The pitiable fawn let out a painful bleat into the sky since there was no one to take care of him now.